In Minnesota right now, there's flyers on my face that say, if you see Nick Shirley, tell him to kill himself.
Today's guest just uncovered the biggest fraud in American history.
So in my video, we uncovered an estimate of $110 million in fraud. The government has said that the fraud is anywhere upwards of $9 billion. And the man in my video, David, he believes it's around.
A Gen Z content creator raised in Utah, his worldview was shaped by faith, structure, and trust in institutions, which inspired him to cover the raw reality of humans right on the scene.
So part 2 in Minnesota, there's around 1,300 of these transportation companies, and around 800 to 900 of them are ran by Somalians. $2 million a day in Minnesota.
In this episode, we'll expose the $1 billion in fraud this 23-year-old uncovered, explore why his work has made him both a hero and a target, and question why it takes a kid with a camera to reveal the truth about how our nation really operates. What government program do you think hasn't been corrupt or abused? Nick Shirley, welcome to the Jack Neel Podcast.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Nick, your video in Minnesota has received over 1 billion views total in the last 2 weeks. You've been attacked by the mainstream media, praised by Elon Musk and members of the Trump administration. And soon after, Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, stepped away from re-election. What exactly did you uncover, and how far does the rabbit hole go on this?
So what I did is I just exposed the fraud so everybody could see it with their own eyes. The rabbit hole has been going on for years and years. Tim Walz has said that he's been fighting fraud since 2019. And so I, more than anything, showed people what was actually happening and exposed that the fraud is so open and blatant. All you have to do is go and show up to one of these daycares and ask the people how to enroll a child, and they won't even be able to answer a simple question as to where are the children. Or meanwhile, one daycare is receiving $3.45 million a year, and there was no children.
And this is, how many billions of fraud is it at, specifically with the daycares, or just like Minnesota in general, that you've been responsible for?
Yeah, so in my video, we uncovered an estimate of $110 million in fraud. The government has said that the fraud is anywhere upwards of $9 billion. And that was just in one briefing. And the man in my video, David, he believes it's around $30 billion. And so there's a wide range of exactly how much money in fraud has been, but regardless, it's in the billions of dollars.
So the story went pretty viral, of course. You've mentioned that it's the most viral video on X of all time, besides maybe something that Mr. Beast had posted. Is it the most viral video on X?
Yeah, so I think Tucker's interview with Putin, I think that's the most viral video. But as far as like an expose style video, where it's like low-key like a documentary, also an expose, that's the most viewed video ever. That has not been pushed from ads or anything, but organically, it's the most viewed video ever.
It's also like a news piece in a way, kind of like you're saying, an expose, as opposed to the Putin thing that wasn't really like some big piece of news. So $9 billion in daycare fraud.
That's an all over welfare fraud. So there's also, you have like autism, you have home health care, you have adult daycare, and you have childcare, then you have transportation and EMT as well. And so $9 billion in welfare fraud, and daycares is part of that.
Just to give people an idea, and I know you've talked about this extensively on interviews, but essentially the first daycare you called or you showed up at, walk me through just what happened.
Yeah, so the first one we went to was called Mako Childcare, and it's also partnered with another daycare as well. And so both of these companies are inside the same building receiving millions of dollars. And I had no idea exactly what I was walking into when I went to these daycares. I thought that we were just going to be able to go open the door, go to the reception spot and ask them about the money, essentially. First thing that happens when we get to this first daycare is all the windows are blacked out. The doors won't open. The doorbell doesn't work, but the sign above me says 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. that they're open. And they're receiving millions of dollars, but there's no one to answer. All the windows are blacked out and the doorbell doesn't even work and there's nobody inside. And so why should we taxpayers be giving money to a place that isn't even operating or open, but they're receiving millions of dollars.
So what have been all the consequences of your expose? Like, what have been all the things that have happened because of this?
Yeah, I really wouldn't say consequences. I just say like the reaction from it has been interesting, because you have people who are excited that fraud's being exposed, and then you have people who are angry that I even brought the topic of the fraud being exposed, and to the point where I could make it so blatantly obvious for people to see that fraud was happening. This was never meant to be a right or left issue. It was just to show people that fraud is fraud, fraud's bad, and we should not be enabling fraud to happen. But then it became a political issue, which in my video, I didn't make it a political issue. I just made it a pure fact that fraud is fraud and that this is happening. And so you're seeing the reaction both from the right. They're happy, obviously. They've praised the video. They're stoked about it because it's showing that this has been happening. Because, for instance, with Doge, with Elon Musk, he went in there to try and create more efficiency inside our government to get rid of fraud. And he had a lot of success. But ultimately, it was also very hard to do because, like he says, the fraudsters are the ones who complain the loudest. And it was very hard to kind of go and expose that fraud. And then you also had from the left, who then called me far right. Tim Walz called me far right. He called me a delusional conspiracy theorist. He called me a white supremacist. And now I'm constantly getting messages, constantly seeing people have sent me photos of dead people in ditches saying that's going to be me. Or in Minnesota right now, there's flyers on my face on their light poles that say, if you see Nick Shirley, tell him to kill himself. And so you're seeing kind of people who are excited that fraud is being exposed. And then you're seeing people who are trying to, I don't even want to say cover up, but they're angry that the fraud is happening because somebody with a camera went and showed that it's happening. And it was never meant to be a right or left issue. It was just, like I said, just to show people that fraud is fraud and tax dollars are being wasted. Because think about it. Each person here in America, they spend anywhere from 3 to 4 months just to be able to make it to the point where they actually collect one of their dollars that they make. Because each person here typically spends 3 to 4 months in paying taxes, whether it be federal or state taxes. So that's a lot of money and a lot of time that we are spending and wasting, and it sucks that some of the money is going towards fraud.
What have been some of the other results of this piece that you've done? I know that Governor Tim Walz stepped down from running for re-election, right?
Yes, he is no longer running for re-election, Tim Walz. So it's very funny that he called me all those things, and then he's the one who ends up dropping out from re-election. And so he's no longer running for re-election. Since I posted my video, within just like a few days, the HHS, Health and Human Services of the federal government, they have froze all funding to childcare. In Minnesota, for instance, they froze over $185 million. And then with that, and then since that, they've also frozen to 5 other states, I believe. And I want to say, I can't say whether or not it was nationwide, but I do know they froze funding to around 5 other states as well.
Do you know what those states were?
They're Democrat states. Like I believe California was in there as well. And I want to say Ohio's in there as well too, because there's a lot of fraud happening in Ohio as well. And it's crazy to think that my video is what caused them to freeze the funding and for them to say, okay, before we start giving money, maybe we should prove that these are legit businesses. And thus far, no business has actually been able to send in any information saying they're a legitimate business. We're a week now or so since they've made that announcement, and not a single business has sent in proof of legitimacy to the feds.
Did they send a large amount of ICE agents to Minnesota?
Yes, so ICE was already in Minnesota, and they've been in there doing operations for months now. And since that video, I think they even sent like 2,000 more. And then just the other day, they sent another 1,000. And so they also sent like investigators as well. And so it's been interesting to see that the reaction from my video creating like real world change, whether you like it or not. The fact that the feds have acted just on a video made by somebody like me with a camera who went and showed that fraud's happening. And whatever, and there's other stuff happening in Minnesota as well too, like the wiring of money to other countries. Now Scott Bessent, the Secretary of Treasury, has said that if you receive welfare money, essentially, you can't be sending money to other countries. Inside Minnesota, they have tons of wiring booths inside of all these grocery stores where they're sending money as well. So that's been another effect of the video.
I do want to touch back. You said you sent me this flyer that was posted around neighborhoods in Minneapolis. Nick Shirley brought ICE to Minnesota. He helped kill Renee Good. Do not let him in your business. If you see this man, tell him to kill himself. What did you think when you saw that?
I was super sad when I saw that lady get killed. And it's super hard because she also was targeting an ICE agent. His life was at threat too, and that ICE agent, he'd also been dragged 300 feet prior in a different operation. And so do I think the killing was justifiable? It's very hard to say whether or not it was, because she was trying to run over an ICE agent and then she got shot. And so I'm not celebrating that woman getting killed by any means. I think it's horrific that she got killed. Do I also think that the ICE agent had the right to protect himself? Yes. Do I think that lady should have tried to run him over? No. Do I think the ICE agent should have shot? It's hard. It's like, no, like we don't want anyone to get killed. And why are you impeding a federal investigation? If somebody's life's at threat, they're duty bound to protect themselves as well. And so if that ICE agent, if he thought that that was what he needed to do to protect himself, could you imagine being in that position yourself? Like, I doubt he wants to. There's no way he'd want to kill somebody either.
Yeah, it was strange. I saw 2 side-by-side GoFundMes of, there was the girl, I think it was Irina was her name.
It was a guy who had been arrested multiple times and then let out. So he was a charged and convicted criminal with multiple counts, and he had been let out multiple times, I believe over 20 times over the past few years, and he killed she was a Ukrainian. He just slept in the middle on the bus.
Yeah, and he said, I just killed that white lady. And like you could hear it in the audio, but I think it was her GoFundMe had like $500,000 raised. And then this other woman, I'm forgetting her name at the moment.
Renee,
yeah. She had like $1.5 million raised for her family, which is really interesting comparison of how people like view these incidents and what gets pushed by the different sides. But
yeah, I mean, in that video, it's sad because I've been to a lot of these places, and I myself have even been attacked by people at these protests before this is happening. So I kind of understand and have seen kind of how these people act. And it's just a small set of these people here in America who've literally got to the point where they believe that ICE is the Gestapo, when in reality, they're enforcing the laws of our land, our immigration laws. And so you're seeing this effect of these people getting so angry about them coming in and deporting illegal migrants. Meanwhile, at the same time, there's a lot of bad people out there who came over the border illegally who ICE is trying to get out. And so when you see that they're impeding these investigations, they're putting themselves in harm's way. They're impeding a federal law enforcement investigation. So, and even a lady after went and talked to the news, and she said that Renee, she was doing her part and knew what she was doing as far as impeding and getting in front of the law enforcement. You can watch it. I think it was CBS, I believe. They interviewed this lady, and she said that Renee knew what she was doing.
So the flyer, how did the flyer itself make you feel?
Yeah, I read that flyer last night, and I really am trying not to think too much about the threats. And I am taking like caution with everything I'm doing now. And it's sad because ICE was already there. All I did was expose the fraud that was taking place. I didn't send in ICE agents. I didn't send in. I'm literally just a person who uploads their videos on YouTube, X, and any other social media platforms. And what my video did was it created real world change within the government to go investigate the fraud. And so, no, I don't think that's justifiable for them to say that about me. I don't think that's justifiable for them to think that I'm responsible for the death of this woman, because I'm not.
Do you sleep well?
Yeah, I sleep fine. I don't feel like I'm guilty of anything. I'm just like you. And I sleep fine at night.
I guess, I mean, More so just with the threats and all this going on. It has to be a lot to think about.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, it's hard because there's, on top of that, you have so many other things as well. Like I also have to think about my next upload. I have to think about how this has affected my family. I have to think about all the people that are texting me, this stuff I'm seeing on X, what you just saw there, and other things. And so, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to think about. I haven't been sleeping much. I mean, I think within the first few days of that video being released, I said 10 hours, but then I was looking at my screen time the other day from that week, and a lot of the time there was only like 2-hour gaps where I wasn't on my phone. And so I haven't been sleeping much now.
You think it's just you're working so much, or is it like you're unable to sleep?
Both.
Yeah.
Both. And it's like I'll sleep, I wake up, I'll sleep like 3 hours, I'll wake up, check my phone again, and then I'm just like wired for the rest of the day.
That's interesting, man. Yeah. I feel for you at the moment because I feel like you have a lot of attention put on you. And I know that you were fairly politically involved before all this. So maybe it's not the worst thing in the world in your eyes that you have large endorsement from people like Vance or Musk in the work that you're doing. But like to a certain extent, you were a YouTuber that got heavily politicized. You know what I mean? Quick one. In a world where AI is taking everyone's jobs and the value of all assets is going to zero, the only scarce resource left is Bitcoin. And if you're someone who wants to acquire more Bitcoin passively, you need to hear about Gemini's new Bitcoin card. Every time you spend, you earn money back in crypto that's deposited directly into your account. And with no annual fee, you can earn up to 4% back in Bitcoin with all of your rewards easily trackable on the Gemini app. So if you're someone who wants to earn crypto from your everyday purchases, just go to jackneel.com/credit, or you can scan the QR code on screen and hit the first link in the description. Guys, this one's a no-brainer. Easy way to acquire Bitcoin without changing your routine. Anyway, back to the podcast.
Yeah, well, what happened is here in America, you have these groups. For instance, in Portland, they have these Antifa groups. And it's funny when people want to come after me for being a conservative journalist, or to say, like, if you watch the news clips, they all use like MAGA influencer, right-wing journalist. Well, if you watch my videos, you actually see that I talk to everybody. And so in my video about the daycares, I tried to talk to the people running the daycares, and I did talk to some of them. And then I also talked to the lady who's yelling at me saying I'm an ICE agent. And I also talked to the guy who's been living in the neighborhood for 8 years and never seen a child inside the daycare center. So in my videos, I literally talked to everybody. For instance, I went to Portland, Oregon, and they had Antifa riots. I talked to everybody. I talked to the clown that was there. I talked to the Antifa members. I talked to the people that are living inside the neighborhood. And so I talked to the lady who's getting bombarded by the protesters, Antifa, who can't even get and make a right-hand turn. I talked to her as well. And so I literally try to give everyone the opportunity to voice themselves and express their own opinions. That's why if you watch my videos, you realize that, oh, this isn't like edited like a Mr. Beast video. Sometimes you're probably like, oh, I want to skip through to see what happens next because this interview is going on for too long. So I do let everyone voice their opinions. And then what makes it hard, for instance, after that Portland video, because it was about Antifa, the White House invited me to go to the White House roundtable, and I gave a briefing to the president. And I knew after that, everything was going to be different because then people are going to make it political. And so I'm there just sharing my own opinion about my experience with Antifa, with these groups here inside the United States, and how these protesting groups are very similar to the groups I've seen in the United Kingdom. The signs and the fonts are all the same to the ones you're seeing here inside the United States. So there has to be some sort of organization that is funding a lot of these groups. And so that's kind of, to answer your question about that, that's kind of what makes it hard, is that I've showed both sides of the issue. And then for some reason, it's only the people on the right who would even give me like an opportunity to speak. For instance, Fox News is the only group that's really reached out to me. CNN's never asked me to go on their show. MSNBC's never asked me to go on their show. But Fox News has, so I've gone on Fox News.
Would you ever consider exposing like conservative fraud?
Yeah, for sure, because this fraud's not happening just in Minnesota. It's happening in Ohio as well. That's a red state. It's happening in California, so there's fraud everywhere.
Right. That's interesting. It's just a funny situation you're in because you don't have any backing from the left. So it's like, well, what happens if I expose the right? It's like, do I just have backing from no one? You kind of end up in a similar situation to like a Nick Fuentes at that point. Like, I feel like he's not really endorsed by anyone except for his audience. You know what I mean? But tomorrow, at the time of recording this, you're releasing your next video. What's that one about?
Yeah, so part 2 in Minnesota, I mean, the fraud is all upheld within these welfare groups with daycares, with adult daycares, with home health care centers. And then you also have, you have autism as well. And then you also have what are called NEMT, non-emergency medical transportation. And so essentially what these companies are is they're transportation companies. And if you drive around Minnesota, if you drive around Minneapolis specifically, you will see it's nearly impossible to drive around without seeing a van that has a number on the back of it. Then it has a company logo on the side, and then it's a Somalian driver. So from there, and then if you look at it, there's nobody else inside of any of these vehicles. And so what these companies do, for instance, with the healthcare fraud, this is what I believe happens. So these non-emergency medical transportation vehicles, they're working with these companies. And so let's say you're at an adult daycare center and you need to go to the doctor, but because there's nobody inside the adult daycare center, we call the non-emergency medical transportation and we say, all right, now we're going to get this order set up essentially, and you're going to take our client, who's not actually a client, it's a ghost, and you're going to drive to the healthcare location. We're going to provide a service to this person, and then you're going to drive back. So that way, there's the paper trail showing that they took a person from there, they took them to the healthcare center, and then they took them back to show that there's some movement that happened to cover the paper trail. But meanwhile, they're actually not transportating anybody. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's really fascinating. I remember one time a few years ago, I was paralyzed briefly. It's something I've talked about in my videos. It's a pretty long story, but I was paralyzed for like a couple weeks. And I had to take like, what was it? One of those handicap Ubers there's like on the Uber app, there's like disability Uber, and it's cheaper than a normal Uber and it's bigger than like an Uber Black. And I was talking to the guy, I was like, do you like get a lot of people in this? And he's like, dude, they pay me every hour, like this flat rate. And I just sit around and like wait for someone to order it. I had to get one of these because I was in a wheelchair and they like have like a device that like lifts you up into the van. But he's like, yeah, I just sit around all day and do like 2 drives a day. So it makes sense to me logically that area of transportation for people with disabilities would be something that would be abused by fraud. Who did you, like, what happens in the video? Like, what's it start with?
Yeah, so we go to all these transportation companies, and we have all the addresses from the state of Minnesota. And it turns out that none of these businesses even exist. If you have a transportation company, the average NEMT in the United States has around 20 vehicles. We go to the location where these businesses, where their addresses are at, they don't exist. They're just on paper. Yet they're somehow making and receiving money from the government. And so it's just this huge fraud scheme that's happening openly in the eyes of every person that's driving around Minnesota. But yet the government is not cracking down on it. For instance, why don't they ever go check on the daycares? Or why didn't they ever raise a question about why are all the windows blacked out at all these daycares?
What's the most interesting aspect of like the footage for this next video?
I think just the hostility you'll see as well. For instance, I'm interviewing a black man in Minnesota, and we're talking about the fraud. He's obviously not happy with the fraud happening. And then the next thing you know is a Somalian man stops in the middle at a red light, gets out of his car, starts cussing me out, calling me a racist, and getting mad at me for exposing the fraud. And calls me a racist, and then he leaves, and I continue talking to this black man. I'm like, well, see, this isn't a race issue. And he's like, yeah, he admits and he agrees with me. He's like, yeah, this isn't a race issue. Like, they're just upset about the fraud. So when people say that you're a racist or something like that, I'm like, well, I'm not. This is about fraud. If it just so happens to be that in 89% of the population who is committing the fraud is Somalian, that doesn't make you a racist.
So it's 89%.
Yes, 89% of the fraud that's happening in Minnesota is being committed by Somalians.
Are most of these people here legally?
Well, they're naturalized citizens, a lot of them. And so, for instance, underneath Obama and other presidents, they brought in a lot of refugees into the United States. For instance, Ilhan Omar, she was born in Somalia, but she became a naturalized citizen because she was brought over, and then over time, she became a naturalized citizen. And so a lot of these people have been naturalized, and then a lot of these people have also been born into the United States, which gives them immediate birthright citizenship. However, underneath Joe Biden, around 10 to 20 million people came over the border. And with that group, people came across all across the world. Everyone knew the border is open. I did a lot of videos from there. And so people were coming from Somalia too. And if they came from Somalia, they're not just going to go to a state where there's no other Somalians. Somalians have told me that if one Somalian moves, more will move as well. And so it's not a crazy idea to believe that there's a lot of illegal Somalians living inside Minnesota as well. Because why would they go to a state, for instance, why would they go to a state like Idaho where there's no Somali population? Of course, they're going to go to a state like Minnesota where there's a heavy population of Somalians.
When you are in Minneapolis, does it feel like mostly Somalian? Does it feel like you'll see a Somalian person every now and then? Like, how large is the presence there?
It's very large. I mean, everywhere you go in Minneapolis, for instance, you'll see Somalians, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, the problem that's wrong is that the fraud's being committed, and that fraud's being committed. If people are here illegally, ICE has the right to go and deport them. And so,
but do you know how many Somalians are in Minnesota or Minneapolis?
Yeah, so they estimate around 80,000. However, other people estimate it could be anywhere from 80 to 200,000. Nobody exactly knows the number.
Is that like 1% of the population, 10%?
The population of Minnesota is more than 5 million, so it is a small group of the population. But their presence is felt strongly because it's not like they're just kind of dispersed. They're in centralized locations inside of Minnesota. For instance, in St. Cloud, there's a town called St. Cloud where a large population of Somalians live, and where I have even seen a Christian church be converted into a mosque there. And so, like, the Lutheran church left and then a mosque moved in. In Minneapolis, in a place like Cedar Riverside, for instance, right next to the University of Minnesota, you see that inside of Cedar Riverside, there's no white people, there's no Mexicans that live inside there. In fact, a bar called Palmer's Bar that was a famous and very well-known bar inside of Minneapolis has just been closed, and now it's going to be converted into a mosque. And so that's right next to Minnesota. And the man David in my video, he's seen the transformation himself. And so that's why it's really important to do these firsthand accounts of people who live inside the city and who live inside that area for years, to really give a good explanation about how things have changed.
With David's story, does he not share his last name?
He does. I mean, he just did a press briefing with Scott Bessent, the Secretary of Treasury, and I didn't know whether he wanted the attention in my video, so that's why we call him David. And he did put himself in a lot of risk, showing what happened. And so over time, he has gone out and done stuff publicly, but I personally did not want to disclose his last name as it wasn't important, because he's just a man who's showing the fraud.
Interesting. It's interesting from a content perspective as well. It feels like more, like I think a big keystone of your videos is raw, authentic, and the raw, authentic thing to do would be, this is our friend David, not this is David Smith, but why do you think David, the whistleblower, had his message suppressed for 7 years?
Yeah, well, technically he's not a whistleblower because he doesn't work for the government. That would make you a whistleblower. But David, he had been receiving and looking into this, investigating this for years. And like I said, he had been wanting to get this story out for a long, long time. And, even the local news inside of Minnesota, they had been reporting on the fraud, but they really couldn't get national attention to it. And so I think David, he watched my YouTube videos and he saw that this was somebody who would be good to do it with. And so he messaged me just on Instagram. He had a couple hundred followers and I receive hundreds of messages every day. And I just happened to open up his and read what he said and got on a phone call with him. And he said he had all the evidence, which was something that I had been looking for as far as like the specific numbers taking place. Because now you're seeing all these like kids go to these daycares, or not kids, but you're seeing all these other YouTubers or people going to these daycares, but they don't really have any proof. And they're like, where are the kids? And it's like, no, you have to do your due diligence before you go and do that. But I think why people didn't pick up the story of David, maybe because they thought that they were just talking into the void, like maybe nobody cared. So that's just also a lesson about resiliency, about not stopping when you know that the truth is the truth and it needs to be exposed.
How much transportation fraud do you think there is, and how much did you kind of uncover in that video?
Yeah, so in my video, we go to multiple companies. In Minnesota, there's around 1,300 of these transportation companies, and around 800 and 900 of them are ran by Somalians. And so the estimated number of fraud taking place, I believe, so an national average for a transportation company is to have 20 vehicles, and then the average for each transportation from location to location is $50 each way. So, I mean, you can just do the math, but that's a lot of money. I think David estimated around like $2 million a day in Minnesota, just from these transportation companies alone.
$2 million a day?
Yeah, because of all the companies. And so say they do 10 trips, $500 times 20, then you times that by 1,300. It's a lot of money.
Have you calculated like the average tax collected by the Minnesota government every year, and then like compared it with all of that which you've exposed, and like kind of put two and two together of like what percentage of people's taxes are actually going to just all the fraud?
Yeah, that'd be very interesting to look into. I do know that, for instance, when Tim Walz got in last biennium, they were in a surplus of billions of dollars. Now they're in, I believe, a $16 billion deficit. So they went from being in a surplus, having more money, into now being in a deficit of I believe $16 billion.
And then I guess just recently, has there been anything else with this case that like someone sent you or was like particularly interesting, like something maybe you haven't talked about?
Well, now you're seeing the riots happening, and you're seeing the protesters come out, and you're seeing somebody like Ilhan Omar, who did not say a word for 2 weeks about the fraud. She still has not said a word about the fraud. Her net worth went from negative to allegedly $30 million in her time as a congresswoman. And so she has said absolutely nothing about the fraud, but right now she is currently leading these protests. She's in a car like she's in a parade on a megaphone, telling these people to not follow and to stand your ground against ICE. Well, Ilhan Omar, you're working for the federal government. Your duty is to uphold the law. And that's part of becoming a citizen, is to disavow and to not put any other country before your own. And then she's telling these people to essentially stand up to ICE, who are just going about conducting federal law enforcement.
That's fascinating. Have you noticed anyone hasn't shared your content or talked about it in particular that you were like, oh, I'm surprised this person hasn't said anything about it?
I think everybody who believes...
Like, did Fuentes and like Candace or like Tucker report on it?
Tucker has not. I think he's talked to, for instance, like a lady like Liz Collins. Candace Owens hasn't said a word about it. Nick Fuentes has talked about it as well.
What did he say? I was looking for something that he said.
He said anyone who obstruct ICE should be arrested immediately. Enough is enough. He also said that the shooting of the lady was 100% justified. All of the complaining about Somalians will result in nothing. No mass arrests, no mass deportations, nothing transformative. We all know that this is more slop designed to rally the GOP base back to this falling joke of a government and pivot from shifting on Israel to Muslims.
What do you make of that?
Like, I agree, like, in a way that, for instance, that there needs to be these mass arrests on what's happening, and that this is a chance for the GOP to actually do something about this to prove that it's not all talk. For instance, like he says, no mass arrests, no mass deportations, nothing transformative. I think that there actually will be something transformative about this. I think this will be the first time that we're actually going to see real change happen from somebody going out and exposing the fraud. And if nothing does happen, I think everyone's going to start losing trust in the Republicans and Democrats. So if the GOP want to really gain the trust of people, go out and expose this fraud and go and hold these people accountable. Make arrest on what's happening, because this is stealing from the hard-working American taxpayer.
Do you feel a little worse about paying taxes in general?
Yeah, paying taxes sucks. Like, it's not fun. And we know, this is fact, that 3 to 7% of all taxes go towards fraud. You can look that up. That's a fact. And so how do we know that 3 to 7% of our taxes are going towards fraud? And how have we not stopped it? And so I'm actually hopeful, though, now that less of our dollars will go towards fraud. I mean, what Ilhan did was amazing, because with Doge, because he showed that a lot of these groups, for instance, like, why are we funding gender changes in other countries? Like, that's stuff that we were funding in some other countries, like in Africa. I can't name the country specifically, but I do remember reading about that. And why are we funding, like, climate change initiatives across the world? Like, why are we funding a lot of this stuff?
Really quick, do you have a 401k or an IRA, or you're someone that happens to have a lot of money in crypto? If so, this is a cheat code, so please listen. Guys, the biggest supporters of this podcast right now are the team at iTrust Capital. With their platform, you can convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-advantaged crypto account. So inside of it, you can buy Bitcoin, ETH, 80 other cryptocurrencies while getting all the same tax-saving benefits. So obviously, they'll let you start a new IRA on their platform if you're someone who's bullish on Bitcoin and wants to save money on taxes. But if you have a lot of crypto already and you're worried about it getting hacked or stolen, iTrust also offers a PCA account, which gives you institutional grade security, meaning your assets are fully insured, ultra secure, and never sitting on any risky exchanges. So if you want to try it out, just go to itrustcapital.com/Jack Neel. Just use the code JACK8 for an easy $100 bonus. You can also scan the QR code on screen or hit the link in the description. But anyway, guys, back to the podcast. What do you think?
I think a lot of it's corruption and fraud that's taking place, and maybe that money comes back into the hands of politicians or family, friends of politicians or family members, because it's a lot of money, like billions of dollars. Like, people it's hard to understand, like, the word billion. Like, we can't even conceptualize $1 trillion, and billion is also extremely hard to conceptualize. That's a lot of money. And so when people start making up these claims about fraud, and they're saying that, like, oh, like it's only $1 billion. Well, $1 billion is a lot of money. And so it's a tough situation to kind of understand and track down all this money. But we do know that fraud's taking place. We know there's fraud, and everyone has known for years that fraud's happening, and all I did was expose it. Like, don't you get upset when you're paying your taxes, then you see...
Yeah, I live in LA, so it's...
so like, for instance, in LA, they spent $24 billion. They had it allocated for homelessness, and it went unaccounted for. How's that possible?
Yeah, it's like... But the penalty for not doing your taxes correctly is just so bad, so... Who knows,
so it's like,
man?
they can track the IRS can track each one of our payments. I mean, they can track a Venmo. How can they not track billions of dollars of fraud? Like, have they just turned a blind eye to it? Or have they been enabling it to happen? For instance, Tim Walz has said the buck stops with him, but he's been fighting and enabling this fraud for years.
Do you think it exists in every part of the system?
In what way?
Like, this kind of fraudulent taking money from people, not saying where it's going, because I question at this point if there is anything that can be done, like, or if this is just a consequence of having a system like this.
Yeah, so I think, for instance, like with the system of welfare, they just announced that food stamps aren't going to be able to go towards like Diet Coke or towards soda, stuff like that. But I'm super happy to see that my video created a change, for instance, where they decided to freeze the funding. And I think a lot of these systems probably for years and years have been kind of just going. And along the line, they kind of lose track of the purpose for it. And they just continue to receive the money from the government. And then that group sends that money to the state. And I think there should be somewhat of a reset in a way where, all right, pause everybody. It sounds like things have gotten out of control. Let's take a week to reanalyze everything and send us proof of legitimacy. We want to see how you guys are operating your businesses. We want to see how many kids are coming to the daycares. We want to see how many people you guys are transporting to the doctors. We want to see who are the adults at these adult daycares. So let's pause right now and everyone prove that they're a legitimate business. And based off that, we'll kind of do some re-estimating about how much money we should be sending. And so I think that's something that they should do. And I think that's something that I am proud about my video, is that it did freeze the funding and it gave each business the opportunity to prove that they're legit. And to this point, no business has.
Are you surprised at the reach overall? Like, I know you'd said it's just a typical YouTube video for you, but just 140 million views, like the biggest story ever from someone our age. Like, do you ask why?
Well, over 200,000 people alone shared that video, reshared it. So people are upset like, oh, well, it got pushed by Elon Musk or it got pushed by JD Vance. Well, 200,000 other Americans also shared that video. It wasn't just Elon Musk. It wasn't just JD Vance. Over 200,000 people shared that video. And so if you do the reach, say each person alone has 10 other people that follow them and they click on that video, well, that video is going to get a lot of views.
That's fair. Yeah. It was a great video and a big story. It does align with exactly what Elon was trying to do before. And also he does own the platform. So I'm sure if he wanted everyone to see it at the top of their page, he could figure out a way to push that button. But
either way, if you follow somebody, 200,000 people reshare that video and you're following them, you're going to see that video as well. And I think that's why, like you said, like I think Elon appreciated it, obviously, because it's something that he's been trying to show Americans as well. And
has he told you to look into anything else?
He hasn't told me to look into anything else. I did send him a message because he actually followed me. He kept resharing the videos like, when's Elon going to follow me? And then like a few days later, he followed me and I was able to send him a message on X. And I just said, thanks for the support. And he just said, thanks for what you're doing. And that was pretty much it. And I sent him one more message. And I was like, yeah, it's been crazy to see. And all he said is, yeah, like he's not the most fun person to text.
Your story is super strange to me because doing this podcast, I'm always trying to find people who I think are going to be really mainstream. And I was told about you by, what was it? There was the Turning Point USA event in Arizona a few weeks ago.
Yeah, Amfest.
Was that before or after the video?
So I had filmed the video before.
So you hadn't even posted it yet?
I hadn't even posted it. I had just been sitting on it because, like I said, like I thought this was just going to be another YouTube video. So I went and filmed it on December 16th. I had other stuff I had to do. I had other live streams I had to do. And so I had planned to go to America Fest to do a live stream there because I thought, well, that'd be a good place to be an interview. I'm sure there'll be protesters there. I'm sure, obviously, there's going to be people that are going to Amfest, so it'd be a good place to go do a live stream. So I had that video there, and like I was just sitting on it. I hadn't even started editing yet.
Did you meet a guy named Gary? He's like a numerologist.
I don't know.
You haven't heard of people. Have you heard of numerology or that before?
A little bit, as far as like how numbers align and stuff like that.
It's super weird. He was like, Nick has the craziest numerology ever. And I was like, let me look at it. Cause we'd done a podcast. So he told me about this stuff. And you're born on, April 4th, 2002. So 444. It's just a really rare birthday. And you're also, what's funny is you're born in what's called the year of the horse. Have you heard of that before?
No.
It's like, there's basically like the Chinese zodiacs. There's like 12 animals you can be. So like I was born in the year of the snake. You were born in the year of the horse. And this year is the year of the snake. And I think in 1 month it becomes the year of the horse. So it's just funny that like your stuff took off so much. And then he was betting on it just purely based on your birthday, which was so funny. And then I see like your video explode and I'm like, that's a really random coincidence. Yeah, year of the horse is also just like extremely hard worker, which I could tell you are because you don't have a large team, right?
No, it's literally just me that films, edits. I bring my mom with me on a lot of trips. She kind of helps produce, and like she's very into what's happening across the world. So she is always providing like good insights, and so it's good for me because a lot of my viewers are my generation, and also a lot are my mom's generation. So it's good to have somebody that kind of also thinks like an older person to be able to relate and hit both sides.
Yeah, that is interesting.
And I honestly just enjoy doing it and bring my mom with me.
What do your parents do?
My dad, he just has a normal job. He works in finance. And then my mom, now she kind of works with me. And then she's always been a hustler as well. I mean, she cleaned homes growing up when we were little. She's quite literally done everything just so like we're able to be able to do what we wanted when we were younger. Because I think as a child, my dad, he made good money. We weren't like rich by any means. Did we ever struggle? I believe there actually was moments when like maybe we struggled a little bit, but did I ever not get food? No. Did I always have a good Christmas? Yes. And so like we were very much just a normal family who went to church on Sundays. We played sports all growing up, and our life revolved around being together as a family, spending time with our family members, around religion, around sports. And so I kind of just grew up in like a very normal way. I mean, I spent so much, like majority of my childhood, I just hung out with my brothers and my friends, and I played sports. And I had a great childhood, and I have my parents are the two greatest people I know. And so I'm very thankful for the way I grew up, and for my dad, for my mom, and principles they taught me, and just the person who I am, I believe is because of who they are as well. And for my brothers too, like being the younger brother also forces you to always be in that state of trying to one up your older brothers because you don't want to live in their shadow. So I feel very lucky that I was the last son and the youngest brother.
Your grandpa too, you made a handshake agreement with him to be sober.
Yeah, I made a handshake with my grandpa when I was 16 to never drink alcohol. And I'm super thankful for that. And it's something that I've always, like even on a religious aspect, like we don't drink or we don't smoke and stuff like that. But more than that, like I had a lot of friends in high school who were also religious and also followed the same belief systems as me, but they drank and they smoked. So, but more than anything, it was just to me the fact that one, I made a handshake with my grandpa. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And I have so much respect for my grandpa that I never want to disappoint him. And so that just on drinking, it never even came across my mind. I remember like when I was 18 years old, I moved out to LA and my grandpa gave me a hat, and I was at this house. It was actually at the Faze house. I had somehow gotten into this party, and it was like the X-Face house, the one where Justin Bieber used to live. And
where everyone has lived.
Yeah, where everyone has lived.
Yeah.
And I don't remember who was in, if it was a content house or whatnot, but at that time, I was 18. People are like offering you all sorts of stuff, alcohol and everything. And I remember like I wore the hat my grandpa gave me, and I just kind of remembered that like at that no, I'm never gonna indulge in any of that stuff. And actually found by being sober, that was like my biggest advantage.
You think about the handshake specifically, like that moment where you promised him when like people are tempting you with this other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like, because everyone gets tempted. Everyone gets tempted to drink or to smoke or to do other things and indulge in other things. And even myself, like, I think we've all been tempted in one way or another. But to me, the temptation never was to the point where I had the alcohol to my lips to indulge into it. And but I think that handshake solidified it because I have so much respect for my grandpa. And I would never want to disappoint him.
Have you had a girlfriend?
Yeah, I've had some flings with girls and whatnot. Have I been in a long-term relationship for extended years? No.
Do you think that'd be easy right now?
To get one?
Yeah.
Or to be in a relationship?
I guess just navigating a relationship with everything you have going on.
It might make it a little hard, but it's not something I couldn't handle. It wouldn't be hard. You just have to make sure it's the right person. And now I have to be more careful. Like, have I had flings with girls or talked to girls for extended periods of time? Well, obviously, yes. Have I ever committed to somebody for months and years on end? No. I think that's also why I've been able to have a lot of success. I haven't been where my work has quite literally been my main focus and my main goal. And so, like, I see a lot of my friends who get married. I've had majority of my friends from high school are married now. And I feel like now, like, their aspect of them wanting to go for their dreams has kind of been killed in a way where they feel like maybe they can't go aspire because the risk is too high for them to not be able to provide for their family, if that makes sense. Because a lot of times when you are in that position of taking risk and going for your dreams, you're really not making that much money. When I started doing YouTube seriously, I remember I had $10,000 and I had to use that $10,000 to get where I am now. And I was spending more money than I was making at that time. And so a lot of time to chase those dreams and to chase your goals, you have to really just be focused and dialed in. And so if you're also have a wife and you also have kids that you have to rely on you, it makes it a lot tougher.
You're 23?
Yes.
Did you go to high school with Emma Nelson?
Yeah, the girl on Mr. Beast show?
Yeah,
I did go to school with her, actually.
That's so funny. I was asking her if she knew any podcast studios in Salt Lake. And she was like, who are you doing out here? I'm like, Nick Shirley. And she's like, I went to high school with him. I was like, that's a small world. We've had her on the podcast. It's the only reason I bring her up. After she brutally lost Beast Games in that last episode. That was so sad to see. But what's the difference between like Somalia and Somaliland?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I know there's a lot of controversy about it right now. Honestly, I could not tell you.
Have you looked into all of that?
Not really. I don't have much plans on going to Somalia, so I haven't really dove too much into it. It's funny to like post this, after I post this video, you see like all these things come out and it's like, no, I just a YouTuber who uploaded on schedule and all this happened. Because I knew the video was going to be big, but I did not know it was going to go reach this level. In fact, I originally hadn't even posted the video on X when I uploaded the YouTube video on YouTube. I uploaded the video on YouTube and I went to the gym and I saw people start sharing the video all over X. And I was like, wait, I got to get home. I got to upload the video on X. So like the video going viral on X could not have even happened potentially because I hadn't even had the upload ready to post on X because I had just uploaded onto YouTube because at that time YouTube was my primary focus and then everything else just trickles down to these other platforms. But I'm a YouTuber first. Well, at least I was. And so now everything trickles down to these other platforms. And so like literally that video was just supposed to be another weekly upload. I knew it was going to be a bigger one than usual, but I had already started focusing and working on a separate video as well. And so now everything's kind of been put on pause and now I'm having to move around life differently. Like after when I went back to Minnesota for part 2, instead of having 2 security guards, I had to have 4, and now I have to have a security guard outside my house. I have to have one with my mom when I'm not home. And so I've had to move around life a lot differently.
What do you make of the people who like are like, oh, Nick Shirley's a plant, or like this whole thing is trying to push a negative message against Somalians? Maybe not your video, but how it was steered. Like, do you give any value to those claims?
No. I uploaded videos for over 100 weeks straight. Did anyone call me a plant during the 100 weeks straight of me sleeping in junky hotels?
So I don't mean you.
Yeah.
I mean how your story was used.
What do you mean?
Like, it almost seems as though you were a kid that uploaded a video about Somalia, and then everyone talked about it. And it seems like there could be some reasons that people would not want to, like where some groups of people would want to push hate toward Islam or negative view of Somalians in general. But I don't know. Do you give anything to that?
Well, when the fraud that's happening in Minnesota is being committed by 89% Somalians, it's just a fact. It doesn't make you a racist. And so that's just part of the story. If there was a white person at one of the daycares that was opening the door, she would have got interviewed the exact same way a Somalian did. But there just happened to be no white people. In fact, the lady who was in charge of the Feeding Our Future scam, where over $250 million went fraudulently, she was a white person. And she was charged. And I believe she's in prison right now. However, in Minnesota, at the same time, somebody got caught for over $7 million in fraud and was charged and found guilty. He was a Somalian man. A judge then went and overruled him and let him walk free. So he was found and charged guilty of over $7 million in Medicaid fraud. But a white judge let him walk. She reversed it. So it's not a race issue, but the political issue and political correctness has allowed this to happen. I mean, you saw what happened when I posted the video. Tim Walz said that I was a far-right white supremacist and a conspiracy theorist. But then Tim Walz just dropped out of running for re-election. So what does that say? Why would he drop out of running for re-election if he was doing such a good job managing everything? And now they're saying he might resign.
Do you think the transportation money, the daycare money in Minnesota is going to terrorist groups like, what is it, Al-Shabaab?
Yeah, I think that it's been proven that it has happened. In Minnesota, at their airport in Minneapolis, there's a video from 2017. So this has been happening for a long time, where Somalians take cash through TSA, millions of dollars. I believe it just came out the other day that $700 million has been transported through Minneapolis TSA. And they take that money and they make their way to Dubai. And then from Dubai, they're able to wire that money to Somalia tax-free. So, yes, if the Al-Shabaab is operating inside of Somalia and there's large portions of money, millions of dollars going to Somalia, it's fair to say that some of that money has landed into the hands of Al-Shabaab.
What does that organization do?
Al-Shabaab, well, I believe it's related with Al-Qaeda, and so they're a Muslim terrorist group.
And who are they targeting?
In Somalia? I mean, they're a terrorist organization. They're similar to somebody like ISIS. We know what they do. They're obviously not the most friendly people. I mean, they kill people. They're a terrorist organization.
I guess just who do they kill usually?
They're terrorizing the Somalians probably. Maybe they target Christians. I don't know. I've never been to Somalia, so I couldn't tell you.
That's not on your bucket list right now.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever be going to Somalia anytime soon. I don't know if I'll ever go back to Minnesota anytime soon. Like, I remember just getting out of the airport in Minnesota. It was spooky because the video had gone viral, and I'm going through TSA, and a large portion of the people working inside the airport were Somalians as well. And so the looks, and people are they look at me, they grab their phone, they're asking their friend, is that the guy? And so that's another risk. I mean, and even in Nashville, I was going through the airport, just dropping off the rental car, and the guy was Somalian, and he saw me drop off the car. He shows his phone to his friend, and it's obviously they're looking at my profile, and they're like, yeah, that's the guy. And then I just hurry off and get through TSA.
What's the weirdest DM you've gotten through all this?
The weirdest DM? I mean, I woke up and Conor McGregor was like, stay safe, King. That was pretty funny. He said something along the lines of that, like, stay safe, the world needs you. Or like David from The Office, he messaged me. He's like, you're Dunder Mifflin certified.
David, the CEO of Dunder Mifflin?
Yeah. That was pretty funny. I love The Office, so I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, me too. That's really strange.
Or the Beeple memes. Beeple, the guy who makes the NFTs, he made like all this artwork. And one of them was like me knocking out Tim Walz. And then like the next day later, it was like Tim Walz's grave. And it was like, I was wearing this Quality Leering hoodie and Tim Walz, it was like Tim Walz's grave. And it had like other signs on it and stuff. That was pretty funny.
Do you think you'll be able to get a conversation with him?
With Beeple or Tim Walz?
Tim Walz.
I would love to do an interview with Tim Walz, and I would even do it live. I would just ask him the simple questions like, why has fraud been happening here in Minnesota for so long? Why did you call me a far-right white supremacist? Why did you call me a delusional conspiracy theorist? I would do it live. I don't have anything to hide. And if he wanted to correct me on something, he could do it openly live, but they won't. I mean, Scott Bessett, the Treasury of the United States, was going to do a roundtable, and they were going to do it at the capital of Minnesota. Tim Walz told them that they couldn't certify their safety, and he made him go do it in a different location. He wouldn't even let the Treasury of the United States come and do it, and wouldn't guarantee their safety. I mean, this isn't supposed to be a right or left issue. Like, we're just talking about fraud. We're talking about every single person here in the United States dollars funding fraud. And yeah, I would love to do an interview with Tim Walz, but I doubt he would do it.
How much money do you think Tim Walz has made from all this?
I don't know, and I don't want to say a number exactly, but I will say Tim Walz, he raised $35 million the first day, actually $36 million, the first day he was chosen to be the vice president with Kamala Harris. How does Tim Walz raise all that money?
If it was proven, I guess, that hundreds of millions of dollars, let's just say tens of millions of dollars, had gone to Tim Walz from some of these daycares, transportation services, he had just taken his cut. What do you think should happen to him?
I think Tim Walz should be sent to jail, imprisoned for what he had done. And maybe it will happen. We'll see. I mean, if you stole $100,000, if you stole $1 million, you'd be sent to prison.
Have you been looking into him?
Into Tim? I think it's pretty obvious that he's enabled the fraud to be happening.
But just like any other weird parts of his story.
Yeah, I mean, he's born in Nebraska. He's a high school football coach. He's gone to China a lot of times, like over more than 10 times he's gone to China. That's kind of interesting as well. He even admitted to that organized crime had been happening inside of his own state. He'd been saying he's been fighting fraud since 2019. And then he runs for re-election for a third term. He's all excited about it. I go and make a video about it. And then he drops out from running for re-election. Why would he do that if he has nothing to hide? Now they're saying he might resign. So Tim Walz, I think his political career is over. And we'll see what happens. It's funny that out of everybody in America, all the judges, all the lawyers, all the politicians, they couldn't get Tim Walz to step down or to not run for re-election. It was a 23-year-old YouTuber that got Tim Walz to stop running for re-election and his political career. We'll see if he runs for Senate or anything like that in the future, but it will be very interesting.
Do you think Minnesota and Ohio are like coordinating this fraud effort together? Or do you think it's like a separate?
I think a group of people, specifically Somalians, saw that this fraud was happening, and then they were able to take advantage of the system because they weren't getting checked. Underneath Biden, he made it so that a lot of these welfare programs could get licensing very easily. And then I think this group of people were kind of used as like pawns to collect the money.
Are there Somalians in Ohio?
Yes. The fraud that's happening there is also by Somalians.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, people have gone and done videos and they're all Somalians as well. At the daycares and at the healthcare clinics and stuff like that.
Are you going to go over there?
I would like to. I think a lot of people have already done Ohio. And I need to make sure I'm very careful with the way I move about in these next few months with exposing fraud across the United States, because you don't want to label a business that's operating legally as fraudulent. So you need to do your research and do your due diligence as well.
There was a government shutdown for like, what was it, 30 days?
More than 30 days. It was the largest government shutdown in U.S. history. I want to say it went for more than 40.
Was the funding to these programs paused during that time?
I don't know. That's a great question, actually. I know that the reason for the bill being, or why the government was shut down, is because Republicans wanted to stop funding healthcare for illegal migrants, but Democrats wanted to continue funding it. That was one of the main reasons.
What do you think about all that, like the big divide between, there's like the bifurcation of the conservative party slightly, and then there's just left versus right in general. Like I was telling you that it's been hard to get liberal guests on this podcast because I've had some people who are associated with the conservatives, despite me really not sharing any opinions. And that's kind of how you are as well.
Yeah, before this all started happening, I was never really giving my opinions on the internet. And I was kind of forced to start giving my opinion because they came after me and they tried to debunk my story. They attacked me personally and everything like that. And so you kind of got to the point where you like, all right, well, you can't slander my name. I'm gonna stand up for myself. And I had to start giving more of my opinions and defending myself, I guess. And so they kind of like forced my hand into kind of talking about this. And what's interesting with what you're saying about like liberals not wanting to come on to a podcast like your own, where really you're just here asking the questions. But the reason why is because they can't really stand up for a lot of the stuff they believe in. For instance, the deportation of illegal migrants, the word is illegal. They're illegal. Or the topic of boys playing in female sports. Well, it's a boy playing in a female sport. How can you stand up for that? Fraud is fraud. How are you standing up for fraud? And so a lot of these instances that they're standing up for, you can't support. And they know that. Just logically, with common sense, they can't support.
How did you make Democrats support fraud?
Great question. I don't even know. How do you support fraud?
How did they get to a point where that is the option that they have, is debunking this? Like, why can't people just go along with your story?
Well, because a lot of the fraud is being committed by Democrats, so it makes them look very bad.
Is it?
Yes.
Is that, like, what's the evidence on that one?
There's fraud on both sides, Republicans and Democrats. Like the Pentagon, they have failed an audit for years and years while a Democrat was president and while a Republican's president. And so there's fraud there as well. And inside of these blue states, with these organizations, with these NGOs, with these nonprofits, the majority of the fraud is being committed by them.
Because they just have more social programs and more social program funding, whereas conservatives more so allocate toward military funding, which is interesting. Where do conservatives put their funding as opposed to social programs? Is it military, usually?
Well, historically speaking, whether it was a Republican or a Democrat, funding goes towards the military, and like Trump just raised it from $1 trillion to $1.5 trillion. And the Pentagon has failed audits for years, not just underneath Trump. It failed underneath Joe Biden as well.
The Pentagon fails audits in terms of?
Yes, like they fail audits as far as like where the money's being spent, I believe, and like just a simple audit. Like they've failed audits.
Have you considered investigating that?
Yeah, I have. And it's a lot harder to go and investigate something like that because you're going against, you're trying to go against the military essentially, but you're also trying to get those numbers, which they have failed. So how do you go and get them? But this fraud that's happening in the level of welfare fraud and with these NGOs and everything like that, that's stuff you can physically go and see with your hand and with your eyes.
Have you spent a lot of time in D.C.?
I went to the White House for that roundtable at the White House, and I've been there, and it's interesting to see how it works. Like, I've confronted congressmen and senators outside about the government shutdown, and you're seeing that, like, oh, the people who are running the country, they're just like people like me and you, and there's a lot of them. Like, there's so many people inside the government, and it's interesting to see like how D.C. works in a way where, why does it take so long for something to get passed, and why does it take so long to create real change, and why is it so hard? Like, they talk about the swamp, like there's like hundreds of thousands of people, and so people get mad about, for instance, people were mad that Trump didn't notify Congress that they were going to go and capture Maduro. Well, you saw what happened after Trump did it. The operation went successfully, and then Democrats who also had a bounty on Maduro when Joe Biden was president of $25 million, they then came out and supported a dictator. But they're mad at Trump for doing this operation and not notifying Congress. Well, what would have happened if they notified Congress? They wouldn't have let them do it, or they would have leaked it. Or like when they went and bombed Iran, I don't think any American was very supportive of, like, nobody wanted to get into war with Iran. And I remember when that happened, I was listening and watching all these podcasters, and they're acting like they had more information than the president. I said to myself, why doesn't everyone just calm down and like wait till the president makes a decision? Well, then the president goes and does it, and there's no casualties of American citizens. Luckily, Trump was able to go in and finish the job without causing a war. But I think that's why DC it's super complicated, because there's literally thousands of people, like hundreds of thousands of people that work inside the government, inside DC. And that's why when they talk about the swamp being so big, it is so big, because there's quite literally hundreds of thousands of people working inside the federal government.
Did you go there for January 6th?
Yes, I went there actually on January 6th. And I remember going, and this is 2020 or 2021 when January 6th happened. Yeah, I went there because I was doing YouTube, and I was probably like 18 or 19 at the time. And so I was like, it was like Trump, this was going to be Trump's last big rally. They were saying it was going to like be the biggest rally in American history. I was like, oh, perfect. That'll be a great place to go and interview people. And so I went, and I went, and then I posted my video. And I thought, like, why won't they let me post? I post my video, and it automatically gets flagged red, demonetized. I'm like, wait, why can't I post my video, but all these other organizations can? Like, why are they censoring me? And I experienced the censoring firsthand of that video, because the video literally got censored and demonetized without even really going through the systems YouTube had in place. Like, if you labeled it January 6th, you could monetize it. But if you labeled it Trump's last rally, January 6th, just for having the word Trump in it, they demonetize your video. So I kind of experienced that censorship firsthand.
Did you have like footage that showed a different side of this story?
I went through and showed the whole first day, and I was, like I said, I was 18 or 19, and I like figured out how to like sneak up to the front, and like there with the line there, people were out there at like 12 at night waiting to go there in 6 a.m. So I like snuck into the front. That's like a fake security guard. And the Trump speech and everything, it was very good and patriotic. And you saw how, I think it was the BBC, they cut it all up, and Trump's even sued him for that because they misused how he phrased things. And so it was very patriotic, it was very patriotic, and you had a good sense of, like, the morale was very good. And then this is my mom, she actually got involved in politics after this, because everything was great. And then we walked down towards the Capitol, and there was still a lot of like great, like people were feeling like patriots going down there, and the morale was good. And then you start walking down there more and more, and people are like, they're breaking into the Capitol, and people are like, this is war. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And we get down there, and I get up on the rafters, and I could see the people like breaking into the Capitol. I'm like, what is going on? I'm 18 at the time. I don't understand the political landscape of the country as much as I do now. And I was just very confused. I remember I watched a lady fall off the rafters from like 20 feet up and smack her face on concrete. And then at that same time, a few minutes later, the man who broke into Nancy Pelosi's office, his name's Big O, he comes to me with the letter after he had just been mazed, and I think he had blood on the letter and everything. He's like telling me about Nancy Pelosi and how he broke into her office, and he ended up getting jailed and imprisoned. And a lot of the people who did J6 spent hundreds of days in solitary confinement and didn't get even a hearing or anything like that.
They spent time in solitary?
A lot of them spent over 100 days in solitary confinement.
I did not know that they spent time in solitary. I knew that several indictments occurred following that event. That's super fascinating. Were you tempted to go inside for footage?
No, I didn't even know that people were going in. Like, I saw them breaking through, like, there's like at the Capitol, there's kind of like, I don't know if the word chamber is right, but there's just like kind of like these tunnels underneath the Capitol that they're breaking into, that you can kind of, like, it's kind of more underground. and I saw them going in, and I had no idea that people were breaking into the Capitol. And thank goodness I didn't, because I probably would have been walking through just like all the other people that just like were walking through in a single file line inside the Capitol. So thank goodness I did not see where they were entering in, or else I would have.
Quick question. Are you someone that makes content or runs Facebook ads for your company? If so, I'm guessing you probably use ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, some AI tool to speed up the process of your copywriting, ad ideation, video ideas, etc. Well, I found this other tool, and it's so powerful that I almost wanted to gatekeep it from you guys, but it lets you put YouTube videos, Facebook ads, TikToks, tweets all in one vision board and connect it to a chat bot which you can interact with and make content out of. So instead of wasting hours on ChatGPT, uploading screenshots, or transcribing YouTube videos to make content, you can simply put it all in one vision board that connects to a chat bot to speed up the process. But if you guys want to try it out for yourselves, just go to jackneel.com/poppy. They have a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if it doesn't make your content better, it's completely free. But anyway, guys, back to the podcast. What's the darkest thing you've seen at an influencer party?
The darkest thing I saw at an influencer party. So there's this house in Beverly Hills that I went to, and there was just like, there were these things that I didn't even know what they were at the time. They're called like whippets. And they're like all over the floor. And there's this one man, he was like a 40-year-old man, and he had like all these 18-year-old girls around him. And I remember just like looking at him. He was like on drugs. He had everything you could possibly want. He was rich. He had all these girls, but he was just empty inside. He had a house in the hills. And I remember leaving that party thinking like, that's not what life's about. Like, these people actually aren't happy. And I felt like there was like a large presence of the devil inside of LA when I was there for that short period of time. And I remember going to these parties, you see like the people you'd see on your For You page on TikTok and Instagram and everything like that. And you just kind of saw that they were actually very empty inside. They would go get drunk at these parties thinking they'd be fulfilled and they're making all this money, but they go get drunk and do these drugs, and there'd be 40-year-old men with all these younger girls who are trying to get a few dollars or get followers. And I thought that was very empty, and I thought that was very almost satanic in a way, where these people were doing everything, but they also had nothing at the same time. They had no family around them. They had no friends with good interest. They just were there quite literally for the money and for the followers. I remember leaving LA, and I was just like, I'd never want to feel like that or experience anything like that again. Like, that's not what life is about.
Do you think LA feels demonic?
Oh, very much so. I mean, just walk down Hollywood Boulevard in LA, and you think the stars and everything would be all bright and that it'd be a great place to walk around, but meanwhile, a bunch of people are on drugs, and you won't be able to go 3 blocks without a drug addict spazzing out on the street corner.
Do you feel that stuff a lot? Like, do you believe, I mean, I know you're religious, but do you believe there's like more to this world, like angels, demons, spirits, like this kind of thing?
For sure. And I'll give you an example. I went to Secot in El Salvador, the prison where all the most dangerous gangsters had been imprisoned in. And I remember walking around the facility and everything. But the moment I walked into that prison cell, any good feeling inside of my body just evaporated. And it felt like you're in the presence of the devil. And I will always remember that feeling of walking into that prison and feeling that sense of emptiness inside of you. And I've had other experiences in life too, where you go into a place in where any sort of feeling, whether it be the light of Christ or the Holy Ghost or any sort of good spiritual feeling, just leaves your body completely. And so that feeling that I felt in Secot was very similar to some of the feelings you'd get inside of LA at some of these parties, where you'd see that 40-year-old man who has everything in life, millions of dollars, a house in the hills, pretty girls all around him, but he feels completely empty. And you can see it. And I felt that same way inside of El Salvador. I felt that same way in certain streets inside of like Kensington, Philadelphia, where everyone's hooked on drugs, and you feel that sense where the devil has won. in a lot of locations, in a lot of places in the world.
Did you feel that in Quality Learning Center?
No, I didn't feel it in Quality Learning Center. In Quality Learning Center, you felt more confusion and you're like more, and you're just like, wait, how's all this money being spent? But no, you did not feel like emptiness of the devil. But I will say you do feel that way in a lot of these protest groups that come out. You wonder why some of these people can get to the point where they're wishing death upon people like me, or they're wishing death upon the family members of ICE agents, they're wishing death upon ICE agents, when they're just going about conducting the law enforcement. And a lot of these protesters, if you look at a lot of them, or if you talk to a lot of them, you feel bad for them in a way, because when they should be doing something maybe productive with their life, instead they're yelling at law enforcement for conducting and following through the laws of our land.
Like, what kind of person do you think goes to protest?
Well, nowadays I think it's been twisted, because you have like this small group of people who have been radicalized, but that small group is still thousands of people. And so a lot of these people are probably the same people who felt kind of like outcast, whether in high school, and they finally found like they feel that sense of community. And a lot of feel like maybe they come from families where they don't come from a loving family, or they have issues with whether it be their dad or with their mom. A lot of them have like some sort of hatred that's built up over time. And I think maybe they found now that, oh, this is a great place to go and display my hatred and go make my voice heard.
Does it feel like everyone there is brainwashed? Like some kind of mob mentality stuff? Because that's why I would be scared personally to go to one, is that like if someone's like, Jack Neel, like get that guy. Like they're all just like, they all want to attack something, and they all kind of have this hive mind. So that is what would freak me out.
Yeah, there's definitely a sense of mob mentality. For instance, just the past few months before all this started happening with the daycares, I would go to these protests, and instantly within minutes, I'd be targeted by these protesters. They'd come in, block me out of the protest. In New York City, my last one I did, they actually arrested 2 men for coming up and attacking me during the live stream. One guy came through, hit my camera, took the camera off the gimbal, nearly broke the microphone, and then another man came and targeted me, and they arrested him. And so there is that sense of mob mentality where whole groups of people will just come after you. And why are they coming after me, and why aren't they going after the other reporter that's there? Is it just because I'm Nick Shirley and I have a presence and I've spoken and given a briefing to the president? Or is it because they think I'm like conservative, that I'm against everything they're about, when I just go there to give them the opportunity to voice their opinion?
I feel for you in some ways that this event, as good as it's been for putting you on the map, it seems like a lot of what you liked was doing on-the-ground investigative journalism of like some of these protests and some of these events. Like, does that sadden you a bit that you're probably not able to do that for a while?
Yeah, well, I think my name's been like painted inside of these groups. For instance, in Minnesota right now, they have me on light poles saying, if you see Nick Shirley, tell him to kill. That's not cool. I would never say that to you. I would never say that to anybody. So how does somebody get to the point where they think they can tell somebody to go and kill themselves? Do they not realize that I also have a family that loves me? That I have a mom, I have a dad, I have siblings, I have friends, I have grandparents. I have a lot more to accomplish and to live for in this life. But meanwhile, they'd rather have me killed.
January 6th, your mission. Is the mission after January 6th?
Yeah, the mission's after January 6th. So I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. When you turn 18, you're given the option to go on a mission. And you go and you teach people about their religion. You teach them about the gospel of Jesus Christ. You teach them about the restoration of the church in which we believe in. And your mission is to go and teach people just like the disciples in the Bible, like to go teach them about the gospel and baptize people. And so you're given that option when you're 18. I decided I was not going. I told all my friends started going, and I was like, I am not going. Like, I don't even know if I believe in this. Why would I go and do something for 2 years if I'm passionate about this other YouTube stuff? Like, why would I? And it was during COVID time, so I'm like, why would I do that? And like, I don't even know if it's legit or not. And so I'm not going. I remember telling my dad that, and like the disappointment in my dad's face when I told him I wasn't going to go on a mission, I was like, oh my gosh. I think that's one of the only times like I've actually like cried of like disappointing someone. I remember like getting in my car after and I just started crying. I was like, oh, I felt so bad because I knew it meant a lot to my parents. But
what did that conversation look like?
I was getting ready to go out to hang out with my friends for the night. My dad would ask me, he's like, Nick, have you thought about going on a mission? I'm like, yeah, and I'm not going. Like, I don't want to go. And my dad tried his best to be supportive, and he didn't like push me on it because you can't force someone to do something you don't want to do. And my dad just like looked at me. I could just kind of see the sense of disappointment in his face, and like he still loved me and everything, but yeah, I could tell I just kind of disappointed my dad, and I was like, oh, crap. Like, I felt really bad.
Did your brothers go on their missions?
Yes, both my brothers did.
How common is it for Mormons to go on missions?
It's common.
98% of you guys, or like 60%? Like, what would you say?
It's very common. Like, out of my friend group, let's say my 10 friends, 8 of them probably went.
But your family's like particularly religious, so.
Yeah. So like, but like growing up in high school, my friend group of 10 people, it was just me and one other friend that didn't go. And I didn't want to go. I didn't know if I believed in it. 2 years was a long time to commit to. And I moved to LA. I did that, and my YouTube was doing good and everything, but...
Did LA make you feel like you needed to find God a bit?
A little bit, but it more so just like going along with those principles of like not drinking alcohol, or not even principles, just like those morals of not drinking alcohol. I saw kind of like, oh, like maybe like religion is good, like having strong morals is good, having strict discipline for yourself is good. It didn't make me sway more towards the church or anything like that, but I was like, oh, like believing in something is good, like having a firm foundation is good. But continuing the lines of that, I kept doing collaborations with YouTubers. I would do collaborations with YouTubers like with tens of millions of subscribers, like Tanner Fox, Airrack, and I even got invited to Logan Paul's house by Mike, and I would show them my analytics, and they would look at it and they're like, "What is going on? Like, you have all these, like, your thumbnail's really good, your click-through rate's really good, your retention rate's really good. Why isn't your channel blowing up?" And I was like, I don't know. Like, am I getting censored? They're like, no. They're like, well, maybe. And I'm like, what is happening? And so my channel wasn't taking off, even though I was doing everything right and the topics were good. And anybody else who would have done it would have gotten hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Anyways, I moved to LA. I moved out of LA after that because I didn't like it. I moved to Florida with my brother to go do door-to-door sales.
What'd you sell? Solar? Or?
Pest control. But so I moved to Florida, and I do door-to-door sales, and I hated that. I was good at it, but I hated it because you're knocking doors for 8-10 hours a day.
Is it just in the summer?
Yeah,
it's just summer
4
sales?
months straight. That's all you do is literally knock doors.
Did you make
Monday
any money?
through Saturday. Yeah, I did pretty good. A lot of people make hundreds of thousands of dollars going out in the summer, so I didn't do a fraction of that. I think I made like 20 grand. While I was doing the summer sales, I felt like, maybe I should just give this mission thing a try. Like, why does it keep popping back up in my mind that I should go? And so then I made a decision. I was like, all right, I'm going to go for 6 months. And if I don't like it, I'll leave. I'll go home. Like, you're supposed to go for 2 years. Like, when you submit your papers, you're dedicating 2 years. I was like, I'll like forego that, and I'll just go for a 6-month trial mission. We'll see if I like it. And I end up going on my mission. It turns into be a great experience. I learned Spanish, meet really awesome people, and I have a great experience. And I had great experiences with just spiritually and with teaching people about Jesus Christ, seeing how really just giving people simple things such as praying. I remember praying with a little kid who had never said a prayer before. And for his first time saying a prayer, he just lights up and he just says it feels like he's flying because he had never given a prayer before, and he had never felt that connection, and he was a little kid. And so
What prayer would you usually tell him?
I believe prayer is a conversation just like me and you are having with your Heavenly Father. So you say it, you direct it towards your Heavenly Father, God, and you close it in the name of Jesus Christ. And in between there, you can say whatever you'd like. And so it's a conversation you're able to have just like you are with your Father here on earth.
And you're able to pray in Spanish?
Yeah, I speak fluent Spanish.
Yeah, there's a thing about Mormons on missions learning Spanish or different languages super quick. What is with that?
Yeah, I learned Spanish in about 6 weeks after.
The CIA actually studied this because they have to learn foreign languages, like multiple foreign languages, and they studied Mormons specifically to figure out like why they learn languages so quickly. Do you know what it is? Is it just like who taught you? You just learn on the ground?
Yeah, so you go through like a training for like 6 weeks to learn the basics, and then after that they just throw you into
through your
Spanish.
Church?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so more like I could give you a spiritual answer, and I could give you also like a logical answer that would make more sense for people. But also
give me both. That's interesting.
Yeah, so like a spiritually aspect, it would be the gift of tongues, which is a gift that you can receive. So the gift of tongues, you can learn languages faster. And is it easy? No. And like, do you learn the language overnight? No. But I think if you're working and you're aligned with God, like you're going to receive certain blessings. And that's one of those that can come to you is like the gift of tongues. And like, I remember on my mission, there's lots of times where I had no idea what I was like trying to say or if people could understand it. And you leave the conversation, the lady like pours out her heart to you and you're like, well, what do I say back to her? And then you just open up your mouth and you just try your best to be sufficient, and that resonates with the person. And
I think my grandma has it, but she doesn't know what language she's speaking, but it sounds ancient. She's done it for me one time, and I didn't believe her, and I was like, that is a language. But is it just Spanish for you, or have you ever spoken any other languages?
Spanish, I speak, like that's all I've learned. I tried to learn Portuguese for a little bit for a YouTube video to go to Brazil.
That's tough.
It was super tough. But so on a spiritual way, that I would say it's the gift of tongues. And then like logically speaking, well, if your only option is to be speaking Spanish for 2 years, you're going to figure it out. Like you have to. So I was along with that, I'm studying Spanish for an hour every single day, at least an hour every single day. All the conversations I'm having are in Spanish. Everything I'm hearing is in Spanish. Everything I'm reading is in Spanish. And so like you're going to have to learn Spanish very quickly. And
do you have friends that have like learned multiple languages from their missions?
Yeah. Well,
did they say it's more of a spiritual thing?
For instance, I had a friend who went to South Korea, and it took him nearly a year to learn Korean. And Spanish is an easier language to learn. And so it happens in different forms for a lot of people. I had a friend who went to, who learned Russian on his, and I had another friend who learned French in his. So you kind of, everyone learns differently, and it takes longer for each person. Like some kids on the mission, it would take them, like for me, I got lucky because I kind of already knew a little bit of Spanish from when I was younger. It took me about 6 weeks to be able to start having conversations. For other people, it took them 6 months. And so there's not like a set time when you're going to learn it. But I kind of want to go back. So I do that mission, and I came up with a plan while I'm on my mission of exactly what I'm going to do when I get back. I created like a 5-year plan, and I created like a plan, specifically super in-depth plan for the first year of me getting back. Exactly what kind of content I wanted to get into. I remember like I had the thumbnail idea already set in my brain as far as like, okay, it's going to be a clip from the video, and it's going to be the lettering in the yellow with the yellow box. Like I know that looks aesthetically pleasing. And so I came up with this plan exactly of how I was going to do YouTube when I came back. And go down to the southern border to see what was happening. And since I spoke Spanish, I was able to interview the people and interview people coming across the border. And so then from there, I just kept doing more and more videos on the topics of migration. And now it's kind of, my topics have gotten wider as to what I can cover, whether it be the prisons in El Salvador, the favelas in Brazil, or the fraud happening in the United States, or the fentanyl crisis. Now my filter of content I can funnel into my channel is a lot bigger. And my success took place, I think a lot of it was like just God's timing and what he wanted for me. Because if I would have blown up when I was in LA, who knows where I'd be now. And who knows where I'll be in 10 years. So I just take everything for what it is and try not to rush, and to really just have like the faith that what I'm doing is what I'm supposed to be doing on earth right now.
Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I do enjoy it. Like, this is all that revolves around my life. I think over the past 2 years, I've probably gone to like 10 outings with friends. Like, I don't focus too much on the friend aspects or going too much on dates or anything like that. I'm focused on what I'm doing right now.
Did you say Mr. Beast is your biggest inspiration?
Definitely one of them. I think he did a podcast where he talks about like, well, if my mental health was a priority, I wouldn't be here. I feel that same way in a lot of ways, where I really don't really believe in that sort of stuff. I think like, to be successful, you just have to be a bit delusional to the point where if you aren't feeling good mentally, you just have to keep going and keep pushing through and try not to focus too much on that sort of stuff.
Of all the stuff you've seen, like the prisons in El Salvador, the fraud in Minnesota, the border crisis, did you go to Appalachia for? No, you went to Pennsylvania for the opioid epidemic, right?
Yes, I've been to Pennsylvania, and I've also been up to like West Virginia as well, but not for that. That was more like but that was for a separate video. It wasn't about the opioids.
If like, of all these issues, like, what do you see as the most like heartbreaking issue in America right now? Or maybe the number one, like, this shouldn't be happening? Like, I know your whole thing is fraud right now, but like, do you feel like that's the biggest thing you've uncovered?
It's the biggest thing I've uncovered because no one's been able to put a spotlight on it like I did. I think the most tragic thing happening in the United States right now is if you go to any major city in the United States, there's a location where people will be strung out on fentanyl. And that should not be happening. I remember homeless people back when I was younger. I mean, you give them $10 and you think, okay, well, hopefully they're going to go get some food for the night. But now these people are all strung out on fentanyl, and they can't even get to the point to ask you for money because they're so strung out on this drug. Like, they're not even focused on getting the dollars. They're more focused on how they're going to get their next hit, whether it be from stealing or whether it be from getting the money from their friend. Or a lot of these people, like in California, they receive money. They receive an allowance from the government, and they're able to use that to get all their drugs. And so I think that's the saddest thing, to know that people are dying on the streets of America. Like, there's not one city in America where it's in a better position where it was than 10 years ago, maybe. Maybe there's one or two cities.
Have you ever given anyone Narcan?
I carry it with me in my car. I haven't given anyone personally yet. I had to go and run and grab somebody to give it to somebody in the streets of San Francisco because someone overdosed. And this guy overdosed on drugs, and he was in a group of about 10 people. He overdosed. Everyone's freaking out. And so I run over to this person to go grab him, to give him, like, hey, get the Narcan. This guy's dying. And they run over, give the guy Narcan, revive him, get him back to life. And that happens every single day. I mean, in California, they will literally give you the paraphernalia to do the drugs. They'll even give you the monthly allowance pretty much to be able to buy your drugs. And then they'll give you the Narcan to bring you back to life.
What are these people like?
Yeah, a lot of these people, they either got in a medical accident, they either got in an accident and they were given opioids, or they've been longtime heroin addicts. And a lot of these people could be highly functioning people. Then they take fentanyl, which is 50 times more powerful than heroin. And after that, their entire life is them on the street trying to get their next hit.
It's a really sad cycle. Yeah, they're usually prescribed like hydrocodone, acetaminophen, and then they can't really afford that anymore, and they want something stronger. So I don't know, they try heroin, or maybe they try fentanyl, and it's all just because you're saying they got injured at work or something like that?
Yeah, they got injured in a car accident, or maybe they just wanted to do opioids. Like I have a friend in Washington. I lived in Washington for a little bit, and I remember in 8th grade, my friend named Josiah, his dad gets shoulder surgery, and then he starts stealing his dad's opioids pills, and that happened in 8th grade. And to this day, Josiah's still on drugs. One of my good buddies I grew up playing football with, he died from fentanyl overdose, and they're just normal people who got hooked on drugs. A lot of these people are just normal people who got hooked on drugs. I think from like that high school I went to, or the kids from my middle school, like over 10 kids have died from fentanyl. I was just talking to my friend about this other week because he's still up there, and yeah, a lot of the kids growing up in that middle school I went to, a lot of them have died from fentanyl overdose.
I can't remember the statistic on this, but I think more people died of opioids in 2020 than of COVID, which is really crazy. Just how overstated one was, but how underaddressed this issue is. You think there's any corruption with like the pharmaceutical industry, or does that not interest you too much?
Oh, there's a lot. I mean, how come healthcare is so expensive here in the United States? And how can people just get prescribed all these drugs?
Yeah, I mean, we're giving our money to Leering Daycare Center, or what is it, Quality Leering Center, instead of getting like free healthcare. Is that something you'd support? I know you have fairly conservative views, but...
Yeah, I think as long as there's a way to make sure that, because I hear people in Canada, they're like all proud about their free healthcare, but then you talk to other people and they're like, well, we can't get in for 3 months. You have to wait months
for like emergencies.
There definitely needs to be a way where healthcare is not so expensive. And I'm not no healthcare genius by any means, but yeah, definitely needs the prices need to get dropped down. Why are drugs a lot cheaper in Europe, for instance, than they are here in the United States? And what's interesting is you see Trump trying to cut down on a lot of those prices, like for insulin or stuff like that, and people get mad at him. And it's the same group of people that get mad at him for deporting illegal migrants, or the same people that got mad at him for capturing Maduro. Well, if he does something good, shouldn't we celebrate it? If murder rates are down all across the United States, as Trump's been deploying the National Guard to these cities, isn't that something that we should be happy about?
Yeah. Trump could stop an alien invasion, and I think the left would have problems with it. You know what I mean? They'd be like, he killed an alien. It is weird, like, how much polarity there is between the two groups. And, like, your case is something so objective in the way it was presented that just, like, immediately got politicized, which is fascinating. And you didn't see it as a political piece at all?
No, like, in my video, I didn't reference... like I didn't make it a right or left issue. I literally just talked about fraud. I said, I think at the very end of the video, I just said, like, we need to hold corrupt politicians accountable. I didn't say we need to hold corrupt Democrat politicians accountable. I just said politicians.
I'm going to give you a name of someone, and you give me one word to describe each person. So, Nayib Bukele.
Legendary.
Ilhan Omar.
Fraudster.
Mr. Beast.
Innovative.
Clavicular.
Interesting. I don't know much about him.
Hassan Piker.
Call me. He came after me, and I'm like, dude, I just exposed fraud.
I was like, you looked like you're about to say something nice, and then you're like, call me. Piers Morgan.
Hypocrite. I think I'm going on him tomorrow, actually. But I don't understand him. Like, he'll say, sometimes you'll think he's right, or then he'll say other stuff. I don't think he totally knows what he believes in either.
Jacob Frey.
Weak.
Tim Walz.
Delusional.
Nick Fuentes.
Captivating. I think he captivates a lot of people. That's why you see so many people interact with this stuff.
Donald Trump.
Polarizing, but at the same time an icon.
Charlie Kirk.
Martyr.
Gavin Newsom.
Sly.
David.
Legend.
Nice. I wanted to ask, so your mom, she She actually just texted you. She's like, you got to get out of here for your other interview. So
No, we're good.
But she seems very involved with your stuff. And it's strange because in many of the videos that you featured her in, like you guys are in fairly dangerous situations. Like, at what point did you realize you were protecting your family, like over yourself, and like you weren't a kid anymore in that way?
Last June, me and my mom got jumped in Minnesota. A group of Somalians stole my camera. We did get it back from them, but for about 5-10 minutes, we were fighting with these Somalians to get the camera back. My mom had to step in. She didn't have to. She stepped in on her own. And then at that point, I realized, okay, this is probably getting a little too much to be bringing my mom on a lot of these locations, or I have to be very, like I didn't want to bring her in that video initially because I knew it would be bad, but she wanted to come. And then after this video, you've just, like all my family, they've all taken like certain caution, or like
Do you feel like you're keeping them safe now?
No.
No.
What do you mean by that? Like, am I keeping them safe?
I guess like if I took my mom to some dangerous event, like I'd feel like I'm the one protecting her. But like when I was younger, it wouldn't feel like that, you know? Because it's like, you know more about this stuff. You're kind of the person putting in the reps on like, where do we go? Who's dangerous? Like, is this a bad situation, you know?
Oh, well, in that case, like, yes. Like, I'm not going to bring my mom with me if I go back. If I go back and do a video, I'm not going to bring her with me while I film the video. Or if I go to another protest, I'm not going to bring my mom. But if I go to...
Has she been a target of people?
Yeah.
Really?
Like now, because she's my mom, people affiliate her with me.
Has she got any weird messages?
I don't know. I literally don't think she's like understands how the internet works completely. Like she doesn't even know like message, like she gets message requests on Instagram. She's like, sometimes I'll grab her phone, I'll like check to see what people are saying, and she has no idea. So that's great. But people love her on the internet too.
What's one thing your mom taught you?
She's very resilient, and she's a hustler, my mom. Like I said earlier in this podcast, like growing up, she would like clean houses so that way we could get the new shoes we wanted, or that way we could go and go on trips when we were younger. She's just a hustler from whether it be cleaning daycares or watching her friends, like helping her parents. Like she's a hustler, and she gets things done. Like if I say, Mom, okay, will you plan this trip? I need to go to here, and there. She might do it in an unconventional way, whether it be on a notebook or on a laptop, because she has a hard time with technology, but she will get the job done. Like my mom is a hustler, and she always has been. Like if she needs $500 by the end of the day, she will go find work to get $500 in cash if she wants to. Like I had that same mindset. So like if I needed $500, I would hurry and go to Home Depot, go buy myself a power washer. And I can say this because I've done it before. Go buy myself a power washer and go to a neighborhood and power wash houses for a day, and I'll go make $500. But I think like being a YouTuber inherently, like you're a hustler, like especially in those early phases of YouTube, like you will do anything to get it done. Like I have a lot of respect for YouTubers who go for years and years and years, and then they, without receiving any recognition, and then they get it because YouTube, for instance, like the percentage of succeeding on YouTube is so low. Like people think it's easy, but no, it is so hard. So many sleepless nights, so many flights that you didn't want to have to get onto, so many hotels you don't want to have to sleep in so many situations where you're just like literally risking everything for that YouTube video, for the hope for it to get seen and the hope for you to be able to make a profit on it. It took me 5 years to make a profit on YouTube.
What's the scrappiest thing you've done to get in a room you weren't supposed to be in, or meet with someone who usually wouldn't meet with you?
I think when I was younger, I think I was about 16 years old, I snuck into Jake Paul's wedding. And I remember literally hopping the fence at his wedding to go in and interview and to go speak with people and to go make that YouTube video. And so that was very scrappy on me to go and do that. And then like hopping in the party buses and then going to the party and sneaking in from the back door at the red carpet. And then just to make that YouTube video, like I would do anything at that time period to make something happen.
It's interesting. What's your advice for reaching out to people? Because, I mean, this is just my genuine curiosity, but I think it's something so many people struggle with. Like, how do you get someone to respond to your message?
Yeah, well, a lot of people will message me and they'll say, hey, Nick, I would love to work with you. And they leave it at that. When I was younger, I remember I was able to get a collab with, for instance, with Eric when he was couch surfing for Logan Paul's couches. And the reason why I was able to get responses from people like him, or even to this day I'm able to get responses from people, is because I try my best to provide as much value as possible within that message, similar to what David did with me. A lot of people have messaged me about the fraud in Minnesota, but nobody messaged me with the value of what was actually happening. So the most important thing when you reach out to somebody is a lot of people are just looking for ideas, and they're looking for value within that text message. So if somebody wants to come on your podcast, or if somebody wants to reach out to me, say, hey, my name's Nick. I've been doing so-and-so for this many years. I think I could provide a lot of value making clips for your YouTube channel. Here's actually 5 clips I made for your YouTube channel. Let me know what you think. I'd be much more inclined to respond to that than somebody says, hey, I'm looking to start making clips for YouTube. Can I start making clips for your channel?
Yeah, and then they ask for money or something.
Yeah, but you have
horrible way to go about it.
Provide the value firsthand.
Yeah, I told people, I say it on the podcast regularly to just make sure the right people actually do it. It's make me a clip page and go viral, and then you're hired, because why else, why would you want a clipper whose videos aren't doing well? It's
Exactly.
kind of I don't know why some of these companies, they hire people in marketing that don't have followers on social media. It's what's their credentials? You know what I mean?
On my YouTube channel right now, I have some guys who make shorts for me, and it's all, their payout is completely revenue based. So if the shorts perform good, they make money. If they don't, they don't.
So give me an example of something you do now. So if you wanted to, who's someone relative to Elon? If you wanted to get an interview with Sam Altman tomorrow, what would you do?
So I'd either message him directly, or I would find somebody within his inner circle. I'd send them a message, say, hey, my name's Nick Shirley. Here's what I've done. I'm looking into AI. This is my following. These are the people I've interviewed in the past. I'm willing to make it work. If he has 10, 30 minutes, I can be there. You give me a time and place, and I am there.
You say 10, 30 minutes? That's interesting. And kind of the hope is that it might be longer?
Yeah. It'd say, hey, just give me 10, 30 minutes, because if that's all they're going to give me, great. And if we start meeting and have a conversation, they gain that mutual respect for me, then they'll go longer if needed. And so, yeah, it'd just be something as simple as that. And I'd send proof of the people who I've interviewed, and send proof of my channel, proof of my work, and then provide as much value as possible. So I really want to talk about what you guys are doing in AI and how it can be innovative, or potentially some of the harms that could come from AI, and I'd love to help you reach a new demographic of people.
What do you think makes the prison system in El Salvador so interesting? Because you went to the mega prison to interview the deadliest prisoners in El Salvador. You talked about that a little bit, but why is that system so interesting?
Because they went out and rounded up any gangster that was gang affiliated. At that time in El Salvador, in 2015, it was the most dangerous country in the world, the murder capital of the world, and now El Salvador is the safest country in the Western Hemisphere. So they grabbed all of the people that were killing, extorting, and kidnapping people, making it so that grandmas couldn't go to the other side of their street to go visit their grandchildren. And they put them all behind bars for life. They'll never leave. And it's crazy to think that there's people in this world who have decided to become these gangsters, tattoo their entire bodies with their gang affiliation, and then for them to get caught and be held responsible.
Are there different levels to the prison? There's a 3-tier system, right?
Yeah, so in El Salvador, their prison system, what you see is SECOT, that's the maximum security prison for prisoners, and that is specifically meant for gangsters and terrorists. And then along that, they have another prison called Plan de Cero Ocio, which means plan of no leisure. And it's a prison system where these prisoners are being rehabilitated. They were not gang affiliated, but maybe they sold drugs, or maybe they had beat up women in the past, but they weren't gang affiliated. And so they created this prison system. And it's actually quite amazing, because instead of here in the United States, for instance, prisoners just They're in the prison. They're not doing much. They're not really producing or helping society in any way. But these prisoners inside El Salvador, because there's so many of them, because how dangerous and how bad that country became, these prisoners, they've created this whole entire ecosystem where they create and eat all their own food, and then they also help the country as well. They have these huge manufacturing sites inside these prisons where these prisoners are creating the clothes for the children at school. They're making the clothes for the hospitals. And then these projects they have inside El Salvador, for instance, they just opened up a new highway, and a large portion of that construction's been done by the prisoners. And so inside of the prison, they're teaching these people how to become engineers. They're teaching them how to fish. They're teaching them how to...
They farm as well,
Farm.
Right? Yeah.
They're teaching them how to manufacture clothing. And so in each day these prisoners work, they get 2 days taken off their sentence. So it's very cool to see a country that used to be the murder capital of the world. They're still very much a third world country, but they're a country who's breaking the cycle. And so that's why when you ask me who Nayib Bukele is, he's legendary, and the fact that he's liberated an entire nation.
It's fascinating how they were able to do that. 2 days are deducted from the sentence per shift. They all have like life sentences, right? So
no, it's all different inside that prison. So in Secot, it's for the most dangerous, most violent terrorist. They're never leaving. This other prison, for instance, one man was a kidnapper, actually, but he wasn't gang affiliated. He had like a sentence of like 27 years, and he's 60 years old. So each day he works, he's going to get that sentence reduced, and then he'll have 13 years left, essentially.
I like that system because I feel like our prisons are pretty overflooded, and these guys aren't really doing much in there, you know?
No. And so I also think it's super funny when they attack Nayib Bukele, or they even attack me for going inside those prisons. Like, well, CBS and CNN has the same opportunity, but they're not going to do it. Because it's actually showing that like innovation and prosperity inside a country can happen in many different forms and different ways. And this man and Nayib Bukele has done that. And if you go talk to the citizens in El Salvador, they feel liberated. Like they're so happy to be able to live a life where they can feel like they can go to the street across from them and go hang out with their family without being extorted from a gang.
You were one of the last people to talk to Charlie Kirk before he was shot. Like, what impact did that experience have on you? Did that inspire you? Do you think about that a lot?
Charlie texted me the night before he died, asking me to come on his show. And then I go on his show. He wasn't hosting it, but his co-host Andrew was. And then an hour later, I see Charlie Kirk got shot. And yeah, it impacted me a lot. I didn't watch all of Charlie's content. I wasn't a devout follower of Charlie Kirk. I respected him, similar to how I have respect for you and how I have respect for other people, and I believe in what he stood up for. Do I believe all of it? Do I agree with everything he said? No. But do I think he should have been killed? Absolutely not. And so it affected me a lot because, well, one, he reached out to me the day before he died. And then two, it also means, well, there is an attack. There's like some sort of warfare going on here inside the United States when they're celebrating the death of a man who was a father, who had employees, he ran an organization, and what was he standing up for? He's standing up for Christian values, he's standing up for the Constitution, and they want to kill him and they want to celebrate his death. It made you really concerned for the state of our country, and also makes you want to fight even harder for what's happening. And so it impacted me a lot. And I remember, I don't think any of us had, well, at least for me, I had never been impacted by that way of a death of anybody else besides a family member. Just knowing that, like, there are people out here who literally want to kill you. And so, yeah, it's a tragedy. It's horrible.
Have you had any situations where you feared for your life like that?
To the point where I thought I was going to get shot? No. And hopefully I never do.
Mm-hmm.
But just the fact that I have to have security with me right now, and when I travel and stuff, I mean, you never know what's going to happen.
Who advised you to get security originally?
Yeah, a lot of people advised me to get security. And Officer Tatum, if you know him, Brandon Tatum, he has like a company called Black Lion Guardian. He has a nonprofit side to it where people can then go and donate for that security. And so people have donated to that for me to be able to have security, which has been super helpful because obviously it's thousands of dollars a day, and on a YouTuber, you don't make that much money to be able to have that. So right now I've been able to have security just from that fund alone, from people donating.
Yeah, the Charlie thing was, that was rough. I think it's a shame that so many people even had to watch that video for their like own mental perspective. But the reaction to it, it's just absurdity. The reaction to some people's things. So Charlie reached out to you originally for the border crisis.
I think it was around like the Antifa stuff in September. So he had just reached out because he had saw me on Fox News a few hours before, and he just texted me, asked me if I could go on his show and talk about it.
I'm not too well informed about Antifa and what they're up to, but I am confused about the border crisis. Like, as someone who's been boots on the ground, like, what is the border like in 2026? Have you been there recently?
Yeah, I went there. I haven't been there in 2026, but I went there in 2025, and completely and drastically different than what it was like underneath Joe Biden. I remember going to the border, for instance, in this border town called Jacumba in California. You would drive down the border and you would see people walking across, putting themselves in single file line for Border Patrol to pick them up, take them to San Diego, and then release them the next day on the streets at a bus stop to take them to the airport. And that would happen every single day in multiple locations across the United States, in Arizona, California, and Texas. And why wasn't anybody stopping that? I mean, children were being trafficked over the border. Women were being, by the cartel. Why weren't these protesters advocating for the human rights of these people? Like, why weren't they saying, like, no, like, stop it. These people are being trafficked. Where were the protesters then? Like, why do we let that happen?
So you're saying people are being trafficked across the border. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, for instance, I spoke with a teenage girl who was, I think, 16 or 17-year-old from the Dominican Republic who came here all by herself. In order to get into the United States, you had to pay the cartel a fee to get in. People weren't just walking across the border; they were getting trafficked over by the cartel. When people from China who are leaving communist China are making it all the way to our southern border, and then there's instructions in Chinese for them where to go after, that should make everyone concerned that
there are Chinese men at the border.
Oh, lots of them.
Why?
Who knows? The same people, there's also groups like WhatsApp groups where these Chinese infiltrated as well, and they were taking photos of like the Navy and what they're doing along the coast of San Diego. And that's been all well documented, and nobody knows where these Chinese people are now inside the United States.
So it's not just Hispanic people at the border?
No. This border crisis was something that no one has ever seen before here inside the United States. Typically, the migration was from South and Central America. At this time, we had people coming all the way from Mauritania. People from all across the world were coming. And so, like, for instance, the case of Somalians. Yeah, a lot of Somalians came in as well. They knew that people could just come inside the United States.
Through the Mexican-American border?
Yes.
Huh.
And even the Biden administration was flying people into the United States to hide the fact that that was happening. At the airport at that time, these people, they could go through TSA without even having documentation. They would have I remember watching one time Homeland Security move a family of a bunch of little Latina kids through the airport. And I saw that at San Antonio. And so they were just the U.S. government was facilitating human trafficking all across the country. And now you're seeing people get so upset about them. But meanwhile, they've closed the border. Less people are being trafficked over the border. Less people are being, by the cartel. And it's a very humane thing that the Trump administration has done as far as stopping the border crisis.
What else are you most interested in when it comes to fraud? You have your next video coming out, which we talked about with the transportation issue, but what do you think is, maybe you don't have to say specifics, but areas that you're looking into?
Yeah, I think the welfare fraud across the United States, that's like a huge issue because millions and billions of dollars get sent to these groups, And these organizations, the nonprofit side of things, as far as them receiving grants and these funds for the government, there's a whole lot of corruption in the United States, and we're seeing that fraud is in all 50 states, essentially. Like in Hawaii, they've been spending, I don't know if the number's in the billions, but I know they've been spending years and years trying to make their own a railway, but nothing's come about it. Same thing with California. They're spending years and years and billions of dollars on this train that's supposed to go from LA to LAX and LA to San Francisco. And no tracks have hardly even been laid.
Do you think there's fraud in Social Security?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, do me and you even know where all of our money in Social Security goes to? Do we, I think it's kind of weird that every year me and you put money towards Social Security and we won't receive it until we're 65 or something like that. And I think it'd be better if they just put it all into the S&P and we were able to collect money into the stock market. Instead, they put it into Social Security and we don't really know where that money goes.
Do you think you'll have another moment as big as this Minnesota fraud case, of something you uncover? Are you still looking for that? Do you think you found it?
This video will be hard to top because it was obviously the most viewed video on X, but I'll continue covering other stuff that will create conversation across the country and across the world. I mean, people in Sweden are talking about this video and they're like, this is happening in our country. And people in the UK are talking about, oh, wait, these Somalians are committing fraud inside of our cities too.
But what's the big one? Do you think it's going to be welfare? Food stamps? What
do I think is going to be the biggest fraud? In number wise? I think the welfare fraud's pretty huge.
That's the one. Interesting. What state do you think you're going to go to?
Probably California. I think California will be next on the radar. There's some other small states too that I'm going to go to as well.
Do you think there was fraud in the LA wildfires?
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of the fraud happening. And there's a guy down there in California who's exposed a lot of it. And so I actually want to reach out to him and speak to him about some of that fraud because I think they're still having a hard time even getting the homes constructed down there.
What do you think happened? Where would the fraud, the money they got for the fires to rebuild, it just never...
Yeah. I went to go and try to make a video on the fires, but I couldn't even get in because they had the National Guard outside making it so people couldn't get into the fire zones.
They're probably trying to keep you out. My girlfriend, she went to us. We live right by the Palisades, and we live near that area of the Palisades, and she tried to go to a Starbucks, and they were just border patrol, or not border patrol, the agents keeping her out, hey, you can't be in this area, you have to get out of here right now. That's interesting does that happen to you a lot? People just won't let you in the places?
That case was different. Now, in these protests and stuff, they won't even let me get into their protest a lot of these times recently.
What government program do you think hasn't been corrupt or abused?
I don't think there is one that hasn't been. Over time, I think people, especially with the government, the goal for a lot of companies is to receive money from the government because they know that that's more money. The goal for a landowner, they would love to have their piece of property bought by the government because they are able to spend whatever price. And the government are great at overspending.
Has anyone given you a counter argument to what you've discovered that has been oh, that's interesting? No.
No. I mean, literally, the HHS froze all the funding, and not a single one of those daycares has been able to prove that they're a legitimate business. A lot of the daycares, I think 5 out of the 7 daycares I went to, were also involved in the Feeding Our Future scam. But it is funny to see how people come out of the woodworks to try and paint you for anything to try and discredit you. And it's no, what I did was truthful. Good luck.
Nick, after everything you've exposed, civilian fraud, uncontrolled violence, the dark underbelly of government corruption, what hope do you have left for America? And do you have any hope left?
Yeah, I do have lots of hope for America because I think my generation, a lot of us just want to have the same opportunities that our parents and grandparents had. And now we're coming out and we're talking about things and we're standing up for ourselves the best way we can. And by creating these conversations, or at least I feel like I'm doing my part in trying to hold the government accountable, to show people the realities of the world for what they are, and to, at the end of the day, try to make America a more efficient place in a way that I can. I'm 23 years old. I can't go inside the government. I can't cut the contract, or I can't tell the president to do this. I can't tell him to do that. But I can create conversation, which creates change. I have hope that what's happening in the country is for our benefit. I hope that President Trump's working for each and every single American. I hope that less and less fraud will be taking place.
After seeing everything that you've seen, talking with many different types of people, what's one belief about the world that you had that you no longer hold?
It's a good question. I would still believe there's more good people than bad people in the world. But now I do believe for certain that there is brainwashing.
Tell me more.
'Cause I remember when I was younger, I remember hearing about people being brainwashed by religion or cults and stuff. I remember like, what does that mean? Like brainwashing. But now we're seeing real brainwashing in real time where people will support fraud, or people will support anything. Well, where people will support, for instance, on the topic of immigration, they will support somebody who's here illegally. The word's illegal. Or the capturing of Maduro. Joe Biden also wanted to capture Maduro. He had a $25 million bounty. Trump goes and does it, and then the Democrats are coming after him for saying it's bad. And so brainwashing is very real. I've seen it firsthand. People, you question their logic, and they can't come up with a sentence because that brainwashing that they had actually never provided them proof, but they were told and they believed it, and now they can't think of other ways to look at things from a different perspective because of the brainwashing that's taken place.
What advice do you have to Gen Z to avoid brainwashing?
Like, question everything. Like, don't take my word for it. If you want to question it, go ahead and question it. Do your own due diligence. And I'll do the same thing. And so, like, people get mad at people on the internet for questioning religions or questioning groups. Well, you should be able to question and do your own critical thinking. Most things in this world come down to common sense. And if you can't come up with a common sense reason for things, question it.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Follow your gut. Follow your instincts. There's a reason you're receiving those instincts. That's God working with inside of you to tell you to go out and do something. So follow what you believe and follow what the feelings inside of you, because that's God working through you to propel you to where He wants you to go. So if you have a thought that's been lingering for months, years, and you haven't done it, well, there's a reason why it keeps coming back. Like, follow your gut, follow your instincts. That's God showing you who He wants you to be.
When is the most important time in your life that you followed your gut and it worked out well?
I could have quit YouTube years ago. For some reason, I just had that gut feeling that I still needed to make videos. I still needed to do. I had that there was a reason why I couldn't ever get the topic of going on YouTube, doing YouTube out of my head. And now you're seeing it now where I've been used, and my abilities have been used to propel me. My abilities and my experiences that God gave me have helped me to get to the point where I'm at now. So He used me in a way that I didn't know at that time to then get to where I'm at now. And then He'll continue to use me for years and years until I die.
If you could make any video in the world right now, what would it be?
I was thinking about this because somebody else asked me that question the other day, and I didn't really have a good answer for it. And I said I would like to interview people like Elon Musk, Trump, Nayib Bukele. I think there's this guy in Africa right now who's like saving kids from slavery, and he gets them like on a boat. And I've seen a few TikToks. I think that'd be a very interesting video.
He's saving kids from slavery on a boat.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Like he's like going out. I can't remember exactly what country, but he's doing something along the lines of that. I think doing that would be interesting, or making videos in certain like parts of the world that are kind of untouched would be also very interesting as well.
Do you think you'll go to North Korea?
I would go to North Korea.
Would you film there?
Yeah, I would. I'd probably have to run the marathon that they make so people can run it. Like, do you know that marathon they hold? They do like a marathon every now and then. There's this YouTuber from the UK. His name was like Harry, I believe, and he did a video in North Korea, and he had to run a marathon to do it. It's pretty funny.
And they let you film there?
Yeah, he was able to film that. But everything's very controlled there. I don't know if they'd let me go because I interviewed a lady who escaped North Korea. But yeah, I have other videos I want to film as well.
So your dream person right now is Elon and Trump?
Yeah, I think that'd be cool to interview one of those two guys because one's the richest person in the world and the next person's the most powerful person in the world.
What was like so impressive about Trump to you? Like there's an experience of like watching people, obviously, and then like meeting them in person. Like, what did you notice about him?
Yeah, he knows how to take command of the entire room. And he gives everyone the option to voice their opinion. He takes in advice advice and questions from everyone. When I went and did the round table, I think there's like 12 of us. He listened and let all of us speak for 2 minutes or 5 minutes. And he took in that and he took down information and he let everyone speak. And he was able to listen to everybody. And I've heard that from multiple people. Like, he will take opinions from everybody. And he wants to know what other people think.
Crazy, like, genetics on that guy, like his ability to just go at that age. I will ask you just from my own curiosity. I'll probably end the interview around here, but you think AI is going to kill us all? Have you seen that stuff?
Will it kill us all? I don't know. Should we like limit the AI here in the United States? It's hard because other countries will get ahead of us if we do. So I don't look into it. I don't think about it too much, to be honest, about AI.
It'd be interesting to see a video of you on that. I went into that topic pretty recently. I had like a AI safety guy, like he invented the term like AI safety and like has been researching it for 13 years. He's like, of course it's going to kill us all. And I'm like, geez. But yeah, it is the issue of other countries building it. And it needs to be like some nuclear war type agreement, I think, like everyone has some agreement that we don't launch nukes on each other,
Yeah, like should AI control the military? No. But also, can't they just like pull the plug on the super machines?
Well, once it's super intelligent, I don't think we can pull the plug.
Well, it has to get power from somewhere, so can't you just like unplug it?
If it's smart, it's like kind of like, how would I explain this? Imagine if a dog made a human and the dog was like, oh, we're just going to like bite it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like an ant made a lion and it's like, oh, we'll just like, we'll all attack it. Like it'll be fine. Like that's kind of like when something is super intelligent, by definition, it's way smarter than all of us combined. So we can't, like, it would take control of like every piece of technology if it wanted to, in theory, but you can't really even predict what would happen because it's way smarter than we are. It's something for you to deep dive into. I'd be interested to hear you talk to Elon about that, like for a Gen Z perspective. But yeah, everyone, this is the Jack Neel Podcast. This is your guest, Nick Shirley. Where can people find this hoodie? Show it to the cam.
The quality layering hoodie can be found at shirleydefense.com.
Shirleydefense.com.
It's in all of my bios and descriptions.
It looks comfy.
It is comfy. It's a thick hoodie. People are starting to get them this week. So,
well, cool, man.
Thank you,
Nick. Have a good one, brother.
Awesome. You as well.